coming in right now. This is coming in real time, and we have count one here. This is the racketeering charge. We have the count here of not guilty on racketeering. This is coming in real time. We have count two also coming in here, not guilty. That is the sex trafficking of Cassie Ventura. Count three, we have guilty. Count three is guilty for the transportation of Cassie Ventura. That is guilty. Count four, this is the sex trafficking of Jane. That's a pseudonym. Not guilty. Count five, we have guilty. That is 5 counts. We have a mixed verdict here. Again, count one, as it relates to racketeering, not guilty. Count two, as it relates to sex trafficking, not guilty. Count three, guilty. Count four, not guilty. Count five, guilty. Now, we should bring up here, Misty, all of these counts have a range of different sentences, a range of different evidentiary burdens, a range of different outcomes we could have had here. But it is a mixed verdict, if you will.
It's a mixed verdict, but it is a stunning victory for the defense. The Mann Act, these charges, these were the easiest for prosecutors to prove, the lowest hanging fruit, merely required showing that state lines were crossed for the purpose to engage in prostitution. We saw a lot of evidence on these charges, did not have that element, Laura, of force, fraud, or coercion. And this carries the lightest sentence of these charges. It is a maximum of 10 years. Mm-hmm. And keep in mind, when you're talking about maximums aren't the rule. They are the exception. They're for the most exceptional and severe cases. So now you're talking about a sentence that's potentially in the lower range with time served because he's been behind bars. The fact that these sex trafficking charges, specifically with respect to Cassie Ventura, means that the jury was convinced by the defense, at least with respect to reasonable doubt, that the commercial sex, i.e. the freak-offs, were not connected to some of this violence, that there was not that force, fraud, or coercion element. That is by far, from a penalty perspective, the most serious. It carried a 15-year minimum. So that is a huge distinction. This is the best case scenario, in my view, for the defense. A lot of us opined yesterday that when the jury asked for a readback of Cassie Ventura and Daniel Phillips, one of the escorts' testimony, that read perhaps negatively for the defense. The jury was digging in to see if there was that force, fraud, or coercion. Clearly, it went the other way.
And, it's interesting because the prosecutors had told them you don't have to find force, fraud, or, coercion on every single instance that he did this, right? You only have to find one. It doesn't have to be that this happened every time. But for the racketeering, you really did need to find a pattern of behavior. You needed to find a criminal enterprise that he engaged in with other people, right? When people think of racketeering, they think of the mob. They think of running drugs. They think of running guns. Now, federal prosecutors have used a far more expansive view of racketeering, especially in recent years in SDNY, right? Because They want to bring in all of the worst evidence. They want to stretch back the material decades ago. And so you've talked about how it allows them to tell a full story. Well, it turns out doing that in this case did not fulfill what the prosecutors had hoped, because obviously they have now cleared him. They have acquitted him of that top charge of racketeering. They have acquitted him of the 2 other charges of using force and fraud, despite having that video, right, Misty? We talked about that video being so damning for him, where you see him on tape pulling Cassie Ventura by the hair. You see him stomping on her. The jury heard evidence that he actually paid money to a security guard to bury that video, paid him in a paper bag, and yet it wasn't enough.
It was not enough. So when it comes to the sex trafficking, yesterday, those questions that the jury asked for the readback with respect to the testimony aligned perfectly to what prosecutors in their closing argument said were 3 very obvious instances of sex trafficking, because they did not have to find that it was the hundreds of times that Cassie Ventura had testified that she engaged in these freak-offs. So prosecutors pointed to these 3. That testimony aligned exactly to that, what the jury wanted to hear. So here's where the defense clearly broke that chain, because what needed to happen was that the jury believes that the commercial sex acts, so those freak-offs, that Cassie Ventura engaged in them because of that violence, because of the force that Combs was exerting, because of extortion about releasing these videos. But what the defense argued was there were lots of other reasons. There was jealousy in the relationship. Yes, there was violence, but it related to these personal romantic relationships that he had with both Cassie and James.
As opposed to being part of this masterminding of an enterprise.
And you know what's interesting, Laura? So now we know, we opined about why the jury was not on the same page when it came to RICO. We said, was it because they couldn't agree on a predicate crime, or was it because they just couldn't get there with respect to the idea of this criminal enterprise, which has been very amorphous during the course of this case from prosecutors, hasn't really defined what it is or its purpose. And the answer is, it's that. It's either they didn't believe there was a conspiracy or the enterprise existed. And I say that because the Mann Act, these two charges are predicates for RICO. Yeah. So if they believed that there had been a criminal enterprise,
that would have been enough.
This would have satisfied the predicate crimes.
So that means they didn't satisfy that.
So Sean Diddy Combs was found not guilty of racketeering and sex trafficking, but convicted of lesser charges. I am so upset by this, and at the same time, I am not surprised. I did not expect Diddy to get in trouble for things that he has done, with tons of evidence and video, including video and testimony from the actual victims. Right in the jury's face, I still knew they were going to come back with this weak verdict, and because men who have a lot of power and money, even men who don't, usually get away with their crimes against women. And you're looking at who's in the White House right now, like that can never be lost on anyone. Like, it's disgusting. There are so many people that are just like, we don't even know why Trump was able to even run for president to begin with, let alone actually win and then be in the White House, and then go on to nominate and bring in all these other people who are abusers, men who have sexual assault allegations against them or probably have been found guilty, which Trump actually was found guilty of SA. So this verdict does not surprise me, and this is exactly why women choose the bear. This is why women are not dating anymore, and why we're not getting married. It's why women are not having kids. It's all of that. This is why these things are happening. When men are being angry, and men are behaving kind of crazy and still choosing violence. They always choose violence for everything. But I've seen men like punching women in the face, just acting out. I also have a true crime channel where I look at, domestic violence, and the Black femicide rates are through the roof. As always, everything affects the Black community 20 times worse than everyone else whenever, it's bad. And so with all that in my head, I'm just like, I can't mentally be around men like trying to date. I don't trust them at this point. I don't trust them to treat me well. I don't trust them to be held accountable. I don't trust them even when they, because they never are held accountable. So why would they do the right thing? What's making them? Because they already act like they can't control themselves, like sexually. And, their violence. Oh, we're our testosterone. We have to be violent and all those things. So it's like the law doesn't even deter you a lot of the time. So I'm disgusted. I'm disgusted at this verdict. Like, I'm just so disgusted. And all it does is validate me not dating men. Like, that's all it does. So let's look at the details really quickly. So that they found that Diddy, they acquitted him of racketeering, conspiracy, sex trafficking. And I think the prostitution, the transportation engaged in prostitution, he denied the allegations. Let me look at it really. Hold on one second. So So the jury's verdict for Combs, who's 5,500 years old, he's old as hell, is they found him as not guilty of 1 count of racketeering conspiracy and 2 counts of sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, but guilty of 2 counts of transportation and engage in prostitution. So how is he not guilty? I don't even know what racketeering means. Let's get that out the way because I have no clue what that is. I think it has something to do with gambling. I don't know. But how can he be found not guilty of 2 counts of sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion when you see him kicking Cassie in the hallway? Like, I don't know what more evidence you needed. And then, of course, she's on this witness stand telling her story to give further details. Then you also have her lawsuit, her civil suit coming out before this trial, and Diddy he settled within under 24 hours, which is like unheard of. Like, I've never seen anything like that in my life. And the jury, by the way, had 8 men and 4 women. And that tells me right there, like, the prosecution, were they serious about Diddy going to prison? Because, you know, for all these charges, because why would you have more men than women? Like, at minimum, have it balanced out 50-50. But I would have tried to have more women on that jury because men don't care what happens to women. I'm going to just say it. They don't. We see how MAGA gets down. I'm online a lot. I see the manosphere. I see the comments and the video after video after video just bashing women, treating women, talking badly about Black single mothers. And they're protected. They are protected. Like, I could say something and it's like, oh, you're getting reported, or I feel like they're reporting people because they're little whiny little bitches. But I feel like I get strikes for stupid shit. And I know my sister does too, because she'll show me screenshots of like why she got a strike. But apparently you can sit online and have a whole channel dedicated to shitting on women, and that's okay. So I've been trying to tell women forever, people forever, like, report these people. I can't be the only one. Because, like, why should I be silenced? Like, and your stuff is still up harming women. So here they say the verdict is seen as a win for Combs and his defense team. I'm sure it is. Which they did not call not one witness for a 7-week trial. Like, I'm just. So I want to remind you all that you only need to prove reasonable doubt on the defense side. That alone, to me, again, is problematic. I also hate hearing some of the defense arguments. I feel like they should not be allowed to, like, lie as much as they do. Like, they can literally just say, well, he was doing this. Like, they just can come up with any lie. He was jumping out the plane for a ham sandwich. Like, they could say anything, and people have to now. They just have to take it. Like, I'm like, that's bullshit. You need to provide evidence of whatever the hell you're talking about, too. Like, make it fair. It's so weird and backwards. So here, like, he should have to, it says defense, you should really have to defend yourself, like, for real, and not these weird made up lies like that I've heard in cases. So it says his family was happy. I'm gonna throw up. So, as sentencing, the prostitution and transportation charge carries as much as 10 years in prison per count. Prosecutor Maureen Comey said the government would seek the maximum of 20 years. I think he should get longer than that. He's done so much. But, you know, I guess that's the best they can do, given the circumstances that he was acquitted for, like, probably like half the charges, if not the majority. I feel like we're lucky if he gets the 10. Well, they said per count. Hold on a second. Per count, so that does make a difference. Yeah, 2 counts. All you're getting is the 20 max. So, yeah. So that's nothing to me. It's like, okay, 20 years, big whoop. He spent about that much time being evil. He should get at least 40. But that would be, of course, if they found all his charges guilty. And I feel like they're going to be lucky if they get 10. He's going to get on good behavior. And he's going to have 1 year time served because he's already been locked up for like a year. I'm so angry. And this attorney has already asked for Combs to be released on conditions to his home in Miami and offered a $1 million bond. And I don't think Trump, and as I say this, I see free puff, free puff, free puff. I don't think that even his social standing, his life is going to be any different. I mean, if anything, I think it's going to add street cred to him because people don't drop their support for these abusers. They still support them because they realize they don't care. I mean, look at Tory Lanez, look at R. Kelly, look at Chris Brown. Like, they still get the support. They still get all the support. They have the people defending them ferociously online, like they're getting paid by them or something. It's just so gross. And this is the upside down place. This is what happens when right is wrong and wrong is right and everything is backwards. And this is where we are. We're in an evil time for humanity. Like, it's an evil time period. We're on an evil planet, just evil under an evil God, and it's where we are. This is where we are. So, like I said, not surprised at all, but it does tell me, stay away from men. Stay away from men. Because if they weren't feeling emboldened already, which we know they are, they definitely are feeling it now. I'm sickened. I can't even imagine all the black manosphere men who are going to be on their podcast celebrating because they love to see women getting hurt. They love to see women losing. They think it's a game when it's literally your life. And it's like, how would you like if someone kicked you in the hallway while you were trying to leave? How would you like if someone raped you? Wouldn't be so fun when the rabbits got the gun, would it? So that's all I have to say. Thanks for watching, everyone. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.